In this video, I'm going to provide some information and advice on what to consider when buying your first bass guitar. There are so many different types of basses available in today's competitive market, so it can be a bit of a minefield choosing one. The good news is that it's actually pretty hard to buy a bad instrument these days. Manufacturing standards have come a long way, and you can get great quality instruments for surprisingly low prices. I'm not going to be recommending any specific models because everyone's budget, taste, and playing goals are different. Instead, I'll give you some solid principles to help guide your decision. However, if you have any questions you'd like to ask, please feel free to drop them in the comments. When choosing your first bass, I'd recommend starting with a passive bass. That simply means that the electronics don't require a battery to operate, just plug it in and play. Passive basses are simpler to use, with fewer controls and less chance of technical issues, so you won't have to worry about batteries dying mid-practice, and you'll focus more on your playing rather than tweaking settings. On the other hand, active basses have a built-in preamp that boosts your signal and often gives you more tone shaping options like bass, mid and treble controls. They can sound great, but they also come with more complexity, and that can be a bit overwhelming for a beginner. So to keep things simple, I'd start with a passive bass. You'll have everything you need to learn and grow as a player without extra distractions. One of the most popular basses, and a brilliant choice for beginners, is a precision style bass, often referred to as a P bass. The Fender Precision bass was the first mass-produced electric bass, originally introduced by Fender in 1951, but later refined into its most iconic design. It usually features just one split-coil pickup and two basic controls, volume and tone. It's as straightforward as it gets, and it delivers a classic bass sound that fits nicely into almost any genre. Another great option is a jazz bass, or a J bass, also originally developed by Fender. It has two single coil pickups, one near the neck, one near the bridge, which gives you more tonal flexibility. This allows you to dial in different sounds for various musical situations. The body shape is slightly bigger than a P bass, but the neck's usually thinner overall, and even more narrow towards the nut, which can make it easier to play in the lower fret positions. This can be especially helpful if you have smaller hands or shorter fingers, or if you're just getting used to stretching across frets. It makes those early finger exercises and basic scales feel a bit more comfortable and less physically demanding. Tonally, with both pickups on full volume, a jazz bass often has a brighter and clearer mid-scooped sound, which can be more pleasing when you're playing on your own, and it is also a great sound for recording. Then there's the PJ bass, which is a combination of both. It has the P-style pickup in the neck position and the J-style pickup at the bridge, so you can get close to both of the classic P bass and J bass sounds on a single instrument. Either of these three types are excellent choices for beginners. They're all widely used, easy to find and incredibly versatile in their own right. Obviously there's loads of other types that you may want to also consider, so try to listen to some sound demos online to see if you gravitate towards a particular type. Just remember, keep it passive and focus on finding something that feels and sounds right for you. Most bass guitars that you'll see will have just 4 strings, and this is ideal for beginners. They are also mostly long scale instruments, meaning they have a 34-inch scale length, which is the distance from the nut to the bridge. That's the standard, and it works great for most people. But if you're on the younger side, have smaller hands, are transitioning from guitar, or just want something more comfortable to play, you might want to consider a short scale bass. These are smaller instruments, which are easier on the hands, and they're often a bit lighter, which can make longer practice sessions more enjoyable. Speaking of weight, if you can find a lighter bass, I'd do it. It's much more comfortable, especially when you're starting out and getting used to the instrument. Now this one might sound a bit superficial, but it really matters. Get a bass that you like the look of. If you think it looks cool, you're going to be way more likely to pick it up and play it. That's what it's all about. Building a habit, enjoying that process, and staying inspired. So yes, the way it looks does matter. Don't overlook that and choose what you like. If your budget allows it, go for something that's well built from a reputable brand. A better quality instrument will not only last longer, but it'll likely need fewer upgrades or repairs down the line. That means less hassle and more time playing. You don't have to break the bank, but try to avoid the super cheap, no-name stuff if you can help it. Otherwise, it might cost you more in frustration later on. Here's something a lot of people don't think about: resale value. A bass from a reputable brand will usually hold its value much better than a cheaper, lesser known one. So if you end up deciding to upgrade later, or if bass just isn't for you, it'll be easier to sell or trade it in. In fact, sometimes it's better to buy a good used instrument from a reputable brand than to buy a new one from a budget brand. If possible, head to a local music shop and try a few out. Even if you don't know how to play yet, just get a feel for them, how they sit, how the neck feels in your hand, especially on the lower frets, and how heavy they are. That physical comfort really matters. If you can't try them in person, don't worry, there's loads of demos and reviews online to help you get an idea of what you might like. Also, most online retailers like Thomann offer generous return policies, so if you order something and it's not quite right, you can usually send it back without stress. Researching, trying out different basses, watching demos, this is all part of the fun. Don't rush it and don't stress too much about picking the perfect bass. The right one is the one that makes you excited to play it and fits your personality. That's what matters most. The level of quality control and time spent setting up instruments prior to their dispatch from factories varies between manufacturers and across different price points. And also, instruments may adjust in transit. Therefore, by the time the instrument reaches you, you may find that the setup isn't perfect. For example, certain frets may buzz when played, the string height, known as action, might be very high, making it difficult to play. The frets might not be perfectly level, or the intonation might be off, causing issues with playing it in tune. As a beginner, they aren't things to get too hung up on, but it's good to know that to get the maximum potential out of any bass guitar will require it to be set up properly, so that it plays just right for you. For approximately £50, you can get your bass professionally set up from a local luthier, and this is well worth the money. It can completely transform your playing experience on the instrument. Bear this cost in mind when considering your total budget. So there you have it, some key things to consider when buying your first bass. If you found this helpful, please give it a like and consider subscribing to the channel for more bass content. And let me know in the comments, what bass are you thinking about getting? Or if you've already bought one, what did you go for? Thanks for watching.